What if the most powerful family in America wasn't built on brilliance, but on a secret so dangerous, entire bloodlines were erased to protect it? The DuPont name meant power. It meant wealth so old it had stopped feeling like money and started feeling like air. But beneath the marble floors of Wilmington's most celebrated dynasty, something was rotting. And one man was about to find it. His name was Elias du Pont, sharp-eyed, 32, heir to a name that meant more to the world than it ever meant to him. He had grown up in the shadow of his older brother Aldous, colder, more calculating, and far more comfortable with darkness. It began not in a courtroom, not in a war, but with a door. A massive iron vault door, standing alone in a fog-drenched forest. No building around it, no walls, just the door, and a candle burning in front of it that no wind could touch. Elias had found it as a boy and been told to forget it. He never did. The night he returned as a man, he was carrying something he was never supposed to find. A ledger, hidden behind the library fireplace, signed in his grandfather's handwriting, dated 1803. He opened it at his desk by candlelight and read the words that would cost him everything. The Pact of Wilmington. 5 signatures at the bottom of the page. 3 American senators, a European banking house, and a foreign arms dealer whose name appeared in no public record anywhere. The agreement was simple and monstrous. The DuPonts would supply arms to any conflict that destabilized American rivals, in exchange for European banking access and government contracts that could never be challenged. Elias burned the ledger. He told himself it was because it was dangerous. The real reason was simpler. He was not ready. Not yet. A week later, dressed for the estate's annual masquerade ball, he moved through the gilded crowd like a man already carrying a verdict. He smiled at people he didn't trust and shook hands he would have preferred to avoid. And then, across the ballroom, he saw her. A woman in black, auburn hair, a crimson mask, watching him the way someone watches a door they have been waiting to open. Her name was Marin. By the end of that night, standing on the dark balcony above the Delaware River, she said the words that split his world in two. "Your grandfather didn't build this empire." She paused, looked at the water below. "He stole it. And the people he stole it from are still counting." She was not an enemy. She was not a lover. She was something more dangerous than either. She was the truth, arrived in human form. The truth she carried had a name: Delacroix. A French family, merchants, alchemists, royal advisors, erased not by war, but by quiet absorption across 3 generations. Their wealth, their patents, their trade networks folded into the DuPont machine with no record, no resistance, and no survivors. Or so the DuPonts believed. Marin pulled back her glove. On her wrist, small, precise, deliberate, the Delacroix crest, branded into skin. She had been inside the estate for 2 years, watching, waiting for someone in the family worth trusting. She had decided, after considerable doubt, that Elias might be that person. Now, Elias understood what the ledger had meant. The DuPont fortune had not been built on ingenuity and American ambition. It had been built on something far older. A network of agreements that armed conflicts no nation wanted to claim, silenced anyone who looked too closely, and buried the families who found out first. He could have walked away. But beneath the estate's library, behind a fireplace Elias had never thought to open, Marin showed him a tunnel. At the end of the tunnel, a sealed iron door with a cipher lock she entered from memory. Inside, a hidden archive, shelves of iron boxes, and at the center, a glass case holding a single leather-bound tome embossed with an unfamiliar crest. Elias opened it. The name on the first page, Delacroix. The root of the family tree his grandfather had claimed as his own. He looked up at Marin. She looked back without flinching. "I don't want revenge," she said. "I want evidence. Help me expose your brother, and I let the Delacroix name die with dignity." Elias extended his hand. She shook it. Two opposing forces becoming one. To expose Aldous, Elias needed proof from inside his brother's locked study. Night after night, while the estate slept, Elias slipped through the dark hallways and photographed Aldous's private correspondence by the flash of a chemical plate camera. But Aldous noticed something was off. A chair moved. A ledger turned 1 degree from where he had left it. He summoned his enforcer, a stone-faced man in a gray overcoat known only as Vance, with 2 words. "Watch him."
Vance followed Elias through the gray winter streets of Wilmington, always half a block behind, never losing sight. Elias knew he was being followed. He changed his route 3 times and said nothing. He slipped into a printmaker's shop where Marin waited and laid the copied documents across the table. She fanned them out: trade agreements, military contracts, wire transfers to foreign banking houses. "This is enough," she said. But Vance had seen through the frosted glass of the print shop window. That evening, Aldous arrived at Elias's apartment, uninvited, unhurried, terrifyingly calm. "I know about the print shop," he said. "I know about the woman." Elias held his ground. "Then you know it's already too late." Aldous set his glass down slowly. "Nothing is ever too late when you own the judge, the sheriff, and the man who prints the money." He left without another word, and that night, the print shop burned. Standing in the street watching the fire, Elias reached into his coat and pulled out a folded envelope. He had made a copy. He always did. Now they needed a path to someone with the power to act, and the only name left was Senator Harlow Reed. Reed had known about the pact for 30 years, playing all sides from a white-column mansion at the edge of the city. Elias laid every document on Reed's desk without a word, and the senator, for the first time in decades, looked afraid. "Testify," Elias said, "or we fall together." Reed asked for 1 week. He was dead in 4 days. Official cause: heart failure. There was no more time. Then, from the most unexpected direction, came the answer. Thomas, 40 years a servant of the estate, silver-haired, quiet, invisible to everyone who mistook wealth for importance. Thomas had watched everything and kept everything. In the hayloft of an estate barn sat a waterproof iron chest. 4 decades of witness signatures, private letters, and confessions so complete they required no interpretation. Before dawn, without telling anyone, Thomas walked to the federal marshal's office and handed it over. When the marshal's carriages pulled up the stone drive of the DuPont estate the next morning, Aldous was still at the breakfast table. He rose without resistance, adjusted his jacket, walked past 40 years of family portraits without looking up. At the door he stopped and turned to Elias one last time. He said nothing, but his expression said, "I never thought you had it in you."